Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order as Guangdong. Let us continue on for last off. So, between the last time I recorded and this time, there has been an update to New Order, so I had to get this running on the old version. I always hate having to backdate mods and do it, like installing mods manually. It's always a pain. When I have to do it for New Order, if I have to do it for Kaiserreich, no matter what, it's always just a pain in the tush. Anyways, we'll probably do a run in New Order after we're done this in a new mod or a new patch. So look forward to that. Anyways. We're trying still to finish up our rifle research. We need some more jungle. We need some more mountains. We should get it there soon. Also, I'm going to ask a question here. I've reinstalled the... So this is like the manual install of New Order. Is it just me or like the color's a little bit different? I don't know if I'm going crazy or not though. Anyways, we have 3 research slots available. It is 62. What do we even want to take here, really? School construction seems fine. Production units to GDP ratio looks good. And consumer goods plus 2%. Boom. Let's get all our industry tax. All of that. I'm sure all of it is good. I'm sure all of it is splendid. Yeah, we're still not getting any more progress. Like, we were able to get these first 3 done pretty well with our invasion of Singapore. Everything since then has been a little bit more nebulous. You are pretty... What are you low on? Anti-tank equipment. You need more motorized, needs more support equipment as well. Are we making this stuff? We're not making any motorized. Okay, fair enough. Let's get some basic motorized in here. I guess we'll take like... It's hard to say because like we have like no military economy. Which I mean is understandable. Seeing as we're not really meant to fight anybody ever. Okay, we met with the Japanese elite. Let's court the Cantonese Japanese next. The party for the investors! The glimmering red lights of Japanese trading ships passing through Victoria Harbor were silhouetted against the flickering lights of Kowloon. A suitably mesmerizing backdrop for welcoming the wealthy and powerful Japanese experts in Guangdong. Executive Suzuki sipped politely at his wine. He wasn't entirely comfortable with such a setting. A gathering of tuxedos, kimonos, and dresses adorned with false smiles and tittering laughter. But he couldn't bite the hands that had fed Guangdong either. Suzuki's eyes narrowed as the rotund man approached. Baron Yasuka. Suzuki recognized the man from his days in the House of Peers. I thought you were in Japan. The home islands are terribly respected these days, Yasukawa replied, laughing. Guangdong seems like an ideal place to expand, cheap labor and all. After the two shared a toast, Yasuka motioned for a woman beside him to introduce herself. Easily the youngest by some margin, her peacock blue cocktail dress contrasting with the subdued kimonos around them. My daughter, Yoshiko. She's accompanying me. Baron Yasukawa introduced her after graduating from women's college. A pleasure to meet you, Chief Executive. Yoshiko offered a flawless bow. My father always speaks highly of you. I'm flattered. Opinionated one, Suzuki thought. The words were polite, but she looked Suzuki directly in the eyes for a fleeting second. He had put her out of his mind. His business with the Baron, not with her. Help yourself to the refreshments, Miss Yasukawa. Refreshments? What the hell is wrong with me anyways? Do I need more rifles? I don't think I do. I mean, what I need is more equipment for these troops. I actually need like more anti-tank rifles. I need a little bit of everything. Inflation is skyrocketing right now, which does seem pretty bad. How are you doing? Because this needs to be by the end of the year. We need more GDP. We need more growth. So let's do some austerity, as well as cutting army expenditures somewhat, at least for right now. I think seems okay. I mean, our jet to GDP ratio is still looking pretty okay. Inflation could be better, but it's honestly not the worst I've ever seen. And the triumphant's collapse. We don't really care what's happening in Europe too much. So if they want to collapse their little alliance, so be it. You cost one... I think it costs like $10 million to get more rifles. I mean, I don't think I can really afford... I mean, I can't really afford a lot of things, unfortunately. Which is a bit of an issue. We could reinforce the Hong Kong police. Political power, a little bit of army command. I think that seems okay. Build police. Where are the police? 16, 14, 40, 27 here. We can maybe get Macau to be more pro-police and pro-Kempentai. I will spend 85 million. It's a lot of money, I will say. But I do think that it's probably worthwhile. Even though, again, it is very, 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 very expensive. Okay, 260 more days until you're ready to go. It's like I can't really do too much with you. Because we need the anti-tank rifles, we need motorized equipment, which we're just like not really making whatsoever. Okay, let's motivate the Chinese workforce. Chief Executive of Suzuki has asked Li Kai-shing to present himself in Koshu for discussions, and Li had obliged. A faint smile forming as he sat the opposite side of the desk, the noon light reflecting dimly on his balding head. What Suzuki did not expect, however, was for Mariatko to be accompanying Li, fixating the chief executive with steely glare. Morito, could you wait outside? Suzuki cleared his throat. Whatever business you have with me, I'm sure we can discuss later. Whatever you want to say, I have to say to Li, you can say to me, Morita retorted bluntly. If you want to work with us, you have to deal with both of us. Suzuki looked between the two. The two leading Sujin and Guangdong, working hand in hand since they first emerged selling cheap transistor radios in 1955. And mentally conceded to the point. Theirs was a partnership that existed long before Suzuki had arrived. And if he was going to openly court the Cantonese Japanese, the two would be entering the spotlight together sooner rather than later. Let's talk business, Suzuki said, reaching for a cigarette. If I can get your assistance to bring Sujin business and workers in line with what I have planned for Guangdong, I can ensure that they're looked after. It's the best and only deal you'll get. So everybody's getting more influence. Which I guess is not, like, super surprising. So we're at 40 here. Can I, like, limit? Change police duties. And you increase the power of the Kempentai. Which is, again, like, not really what I want. I want the, I want the police to get more powerful. If at all possible. Change duties, downsize you... Increases the police. Japan will like us a little bit less. We spent $100 million doing that. Which is, let's just say it's quite a bit of money. It's quite a bit of cash. What province are you? You're actually considered plains. So maybe that's actually why you're not being upgraded. Italy has declared war on Yugoslavia. Not a huge surprise there. I need more, like, supplies for our units. I don't want to spend the $10 million if I can avoid it, because that's not really what we're missing. We're not missing the new weapon. We're missing kind of everything adjacent to that. Yeah, like, we have... Basically, this is maxed out. We need support equipment. We need motorized equipment. Like, we need all of this stuff. All the periphery equipment, which we just don't actually have. What do we want to do next? Security situation. The police will get a little bit more control in a few states. Increases more support from everybody. We do spend $40 million on this, but... What else can we do? Subsidized launch. You know what? Let's add some production. Maybe this will give me a little bit of cash as well. To all loyal, diligent citizens of Guangdong, we hereby announce another season of edicts passed hours ago by the Office of the Chief Executive. Most of them moved along without a sound. The old pa sitting by the grocery stand lifted his head up ever only slightly. The years on his post had made Hashi Akoshin a sharp observant man, keeping eyes and ears all around him, his own distaste for such a habit aside. Effective today, all factories are to be included 1 extra day of paid leave in labor contracts on a bi-monthly basis, granted with the utmost generosity by Chief Executive Suzuki Techi, as replenishment and reward for those toiling for a greater prosperity. The monotone buzz of the TV set went off, but Hayashi's mind had already drifted elsewhere. Nothing major then. There was a sigh for about 5 meters away. 2 middle-aged men in rags hurried by, one shooting him a disdained glance and muttering obscenities under his breath. Hayashi offered no retort, for doing so would be a professional misconduct. Yet, for the first time in months, something within him began to waver. To his colleagues and superiors, he was a trustworthy officer, the perfect Zhujian specimen, and perseverance incarnate. To himself, he was but a wanderer stranded between worlds, seen as an outsider by those above him, and an outcast, a traitor even, to those he left behind. The one persistent burden on his back, however, was that he'd struggled for paychecks, for recognition, and for his own place in a society of artifice. And here he was today, confronted once again by stagnant reality, and a predicament of those of his own blood. So Lam Ho-chun lost himself in thought, until Hayashi Koshin stood back and shook it all the way. He had a job to do, after all. Okay. So we're also missing experimental industry. We don't care about that too much. Yugoslavia, unsurprisingly, has collapsed to the Italians, but I don't think anybody should be really surprised by that in any actual matter. Because what are you? You're jungle here. I mean, the Japanese are trying to push their way through. Like, we do a little bit of combat, but it's like not enough to really boost our stats here in any meaningful way. Is our manpower fine? Yeah. So the manpower, it's really just that we're missing a lot of motorized equipment. We're missing a lot of support equipment, which is definitely a big issue for us if we want to get these rifles in the hands of the Japanese military. Can I actually, you know what? Can I modify these units? I don't think I'm allowed to. No. Okay, we can't modify. I was going to say, like, can I just, like, remove the motorized equipment from them? That actually would probably be more helpful to me. 13 orphans. Then he gave me this shit-eating grin. And what does the cheating old bastard do? Fucking luckily pulls out a green dragon from a wall. Takes half a week's pay with it. All honors, he says. The fucking nerve. If I see that guy again. You start paying for your own drinks, asked Nagal 1, leaning against a large wooden crate, dabbing his face with a sweat rag. No, he'll get humped again. Ooh. Well. Came and shoved from across the unloading area. Yun likes getting humped by old men. Up yours, prick, said Yuan. Me, I'm 30 years too young for your type, lover boy. Really? Well, there's plenty of sailors out there waiting for you, reported Yen. Gesturing out towards Port Shuri, and the tanker ships spilling out the endless loads of cargo into purpose-built storage facilities. Yeah, they're waiting for you to move so they can get out of this place. Read the foreman. Quick screwing around. Sorry, boss, said again Wen, making an awkward twist while grabbing the nearest crate. He attempted to step forward, but the ground slipped beneath him, and the crate lid shattered under his weight. As he struggled to right himself and recover from the shock, fellow workers rushed towards him. He saw the powder, pouches upon pouches of it. It was just in one box, a reddish brown of a congealed blood, raw opium. An unexpected hand. What are you doing over here? I don't know where this guy came from. I really wish I can take the trucks out of this unit. It's really not helping us, like, in any way whatsoever. Okay, let's take more land away from the Chinese. A small price to pay. With cigarettes in hand, Suzuki pored over the piles of charts and documents on his well-furnished mahogany desk. He barely reacted to the faint knock on the door, or the voice of a young secretary. Chief Executive? A key piece of paperwork requires your approval. May I enter? Suzuki murmured for him to come in without much thought. The secretary gently placed a beige file upon the piles of documents already on his desk. Setting aside respectively as the chief executive opened and examined the sheets of paper and maps contained within. There was a list of possible sites of resource extraction, specifically tungsten and germanium, both beneficial to Guangdong's industrial pursuits. Marking in red pen dotted the map designated resource deposits, along with their estimated market value. Among them, Suzuki's eyes were set upon one site in particular, a large deposit of tungsten that could easily, efficiently developed and extracted in optimal terrain. However, a glaring issue stood a sizable obstacle, a small village overlaying the site, with possibly hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. To extract the resources present, he would have to move the entire population and alter the conditions of living. Many of whom would undoubtedly be extremely reluctant to leave, possibly requiring a large amount of effort by the Kamitai. Suzuki, without any hesitation, stamps his approval upon the sheet of paper. So, where was I? Can I... What else? We can crack down on petty corruption. Corruption right now is at 42%. I will crack down at least a little bit here. Okay, our jungle one is almost finished. So it depends on where we're attacking from. I guess maybe... What's your current strength at? Like I know it's quite low. Organization's decent. Fighting strength 32%. I guess I'll buy more of these rifles, even though I don't really want to. I don't think I have much choice. We only have 216 days actually to get this finished. Now, I'm not too worried about it. I think we will get it done. But it is a little bit nerve-wracking. But how are we doing here? End target goal. We still need like $1.5 billion. Which does seem difficult, to say the least. Let's downsize the Macau Tempentai for now. 30-30. Okay, so you've now switched over to be Chinese, the police control. I think that's good. I don't actually know what we're trying to do here. But I think this is probably beneficial. Proved anti-tank. Proved infantry rifle. We have a handful of you. When are we going to get our extra rifles in? I think in a few days, right? Few more days. Let me just... Can I please... I can't scroll with this. 4 more days. Okay, not bad at all. Yes, and let us resettle the population. Maybe they'll hate us a little bit less. Just east of Koshu's bustling streets, a quiet little village had stood undisturbed for centuries. Unchanged, even as the land beneath it changed hands from province, now state, of Guangdong. Chun, the eldest son of the Li family, lay wide awake at dawn, reminiscing over the memories he had made here. The house he had lived in for his entire life was built long before he or his parents were even born, its rudimentary wooden foundation and ash gray walls standing firm in his 16 years of life. A barrage of heavy vehicles descended upon the village, their exteriors unembelled and coarse, emitting an unending stream of pungent and opaque fumes. One of the men stepped forward with a megaphone in a heavily accented Cantonese, announced that that the village was to be evacuated immediately. Do not resist, he added. You'll be provided with new residences. At this, the entire Li family awoke. A village elder who had serviced his village's need for his entire life summoned up to the men, questioning why they hadn't been consulted beforehand. When the order from the chief executive Suzuki was presented, the elder did not relent, continuing to press the issue. One of the men, growing increasingly frustrated, drew his pistol and slammed it into the elder's cheek. His scream of pain echoed throughout the whole village. 3 consecutive bangs rang out in the front door of the house. Chun's mother, Hai, hesitated before opening it, revealing 2 young Kamitai officers who immediately herded the Li family, Chun, Hei, and Ya, and their parents outside, forcing them towards several olive trucks in the distance. Chun saw one last glance at his household where he grew up, realizing that he'd never see it ever again. Well, I'm sure, I mean, it's I mean, it sounds bad when you put it in that context, okay? But when you look at it from the context that maybe I'll increase my GDP by like $10 million, then it's looking pretty good, right? Then all of a sudden it's worth it. Okay, we're at 50% fighting strength, which I think really is about as good as we're going to get. Lam Hyushun took one more glance at the freshly torn envelope in his hand, what little cash he left within, and a handwritten on it was an all-too-familiar line of address. His one remaining anchor to the distant patch of soil he called home. He could only hope the amount that was sent was enough for him to get by. The mail blackout since 3 weeks ago was growing more worrisome by the day. Pushing such concern of his thoughts, he lifted his head and stepped across the threshold of the Cha Chan Tang. Greeting him as he strode into the cramped dining hall were the all-too-familiar mixtures of odors, and the all-too-familiar yells and chatters of perfect Cantonese, and the all-too-familiar face of his colleagues. Their features all too wrinkled to give away one bit of youthfulness. As Lam entered, their exhausted greetings and desperate visages of the young countryman and his aging mother flashed back in his mind. How he had wished he could give the family his wishes, but then he'd be lying to himself. For he knew what awaited those indigenous folks, as the higher-ups called them, could only be a factory after factory as far as the eye could see, eager to squash them into the cogs of industrial machines and little else. It was only his meager Japanese skills that reckoned him from his disaster of the business venture back in Hong Kong. After all, and quite frankly, anybody without the fortune to possess such resources will be doomed to the bottom of the pyramid for the rest of their lives. As Lam gobbled away at his plate of eggs and meat, Chang Fun, something right outside the glass panes caught his eye. A sudden feminine figure clad in pale blue kimono, peeking inside with almost curious wonder. The next moment she was gone, swept away by another towering, sharply dressed figure. Before Lan could spare much thought, he felt a tug on his shoulder. There had been another accident, another body to pull out of the nets, so Officer Hayashi shrugged, abandoning his plate, and hurried out into the afternoon lights. Perhaps it was just another Japanese tourist. Did I already lose, like, all my rifles? We've lost a lot of them. There's no denying that. How many rifles do we actually have? 6.5 thousand. So you know what? Actually, remove rifles for now so we can start building a little bit of everything else. I think this should be somewhat okay. S&P is held on the Scotland. Not a major concern for us, I would say. How much equipment do we actually need? Because I know we don't need that much. It's like 30 trucks and something like that. Like, how long will this actually take to finish? We're currently not producing it. Okay, I mean, that sounds bad. We don't need... Give me this instead of artillery, please. Throw this here. I mean, that seems somewhat okay for now. Yoshito, come in. Stop staring. Baron Yashikawa's voice carried clearly in the 10 paces ahead of the crowded Kosho Street, where Yasuko... Yashiko, now dressed in a pale blue kimono, peered into the darkness. Chan Tang. Just looking, father. Yashiko walked briskly back to her father's side, the kimono fold holding her to short, rapid strides, kicking up dust from the street. It's not odd to want to see how people live their lives outside of Japan, is it? You shouldn't be this close to the Chinese. There's no reason to be. Baron Yashikawa admonished Yashiko. They do their jobs, we do ours. It's how things work. Yes, father. Yashiko demurred for a second, before sure he looked back at the receding eatery. The people inside looked tired, father, but they were lively. A dozen tables without an empty seat, all speaking over each other. Nothing like home. Baron Yashikawa frowned, a flash of irritation on his face. You don't know the Chinese at all. Don't pretend that you do. Well, that's, well, what about our valet? He spoke Japanese and seemed perfectly nice, Ishiko countered. What are they called? Sujin? The people here can't be all bad. They're none of your concern, Ishiko. We're going back to Japan tomorrow, Baron Yakuko declared, while pulling at Yoshiko's hand. You don't have to worry about the world like you did in college. You're the daughter of the Shirawa family. You'll probably never come back here again once you're married. Yoshiko chose to be silent. Her mind was elsewhere. But I think that at least right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. If you enjoyed, remember to thumbs up. Not enjoying, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe. And goodbye.